Immigration judges. They work in the Justice Department, and their role is critical to the Trump administration's mass deportation efforts. Theirs is a little understood job, which senior contributor Ted Koppel has been looking into.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
And he did.
This is kidnapping.
President Trump began his second term by dispatching troops and armed ICE agents to carry out aggressive arrests and mass detentions, mainly in blue states.
These are legal citizens.
As his Secretary of Homeland Security, the president appointed Kristi Noem, whose appetite for deportation and publicity appeared to match and at times eclipse his own.
I'm Kristi Noem.
That and pinning her promotional campaign's $220 million price tag on the boss
From President Trump and me, welcome home.
may have ruffled a few important feathers at the White House. Secretary Noem was fired, signaling a change in tone for the administration, but no change in mission. You have only to check out what's happening in our immigration courts. You think there's any doubt among immigration judges these days as to what the administration wants?
Zero doubt. They want numbers, they want deportations. They want to keep as many people detained as possible and stress the system.
When Ryan Wood retired a little more than a year ago, he was an assistant chief immigration judge in the Midwest. He probably could have stayed on. He was appointed during President Trump's first term, denied many more asylum applications than he granted, but even so, he didn't like what he was seeing.
I have seen judges that have not made it very long in this new regime where they've been walked off the bench.
Walked off? Who walks a judge off the bench?
They're in the middle of dictating an oral decision and they get an email or they get a tap on the shoulder, literally on the bench, saying, please come with me.
Is that what happened in years past?
No, never. We've never seen anything like this.
The immigration court is not a part of the judiciary. It's overseen by the Department of Justice, which is in the executive branch. And over the past 14 months, the Trump administration has fired, retired, or forced out over 200 immigration judges.
It was crushing. It was a dream job for me in a lot of ways. I made personal and professional sacrifices to take that job because I believed I could be a good and fair judge.
Before she was fired last September, Anam Petit gave up a well-paid job as a law partner to take on a job as an immigration judge in Annandale, Virginia.
In my 2 years of being a judge, I never received any negative feedback from colleagues, superiors. All of my probationary reviews were positive and no reason was given.
What does your gut tell you?
I came from a background where I represented immigrants previously. I was a law professor at Georgetown Law, where I taught on gender-based immigration issues. I am a woman, a person of color.
Jeremiah Johnson was an immigration judge in San Francisco for 8 years.
My last words on the bench were to a family of 4. You've been granted asylum in the United States. Welcome to the United States.
Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear.
He was appointed during the last Trump administration. He was caught off guard last November when he was terminated.
I logged on to the computer and I saw the email notification with an attached letter indicating that I had been fired. Within 30 seconds, I was locked out of the computer system, unable to print that letter. Then I was escorted out of the building.
Were you ever given a reason?
No reason was ever given.
This recruitment ad from the Department of Homeland Security offers a pretty broad hint. It features the fictional character Judge Dredd, a futuristic hanging judge. Deliver justice to criminal illegal aliens. Become a deportation judge. Save your country. In another ad, you be the judge. Make up to a little more than $200,000, and there's a 25% bonus if you'll take the job in a sanctuary city.
When we first saw the ad, I thought it was fake. It was not real. It might be spam. We're not deportation judges. We're immigration judges.
And it offends you?
It does.
So far, the administration has recruited more than 70 deportation judges, most from enforcement backgrounds with little or no immigration experience. Also, to fill the gap created by the administration's own firings, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth authorized sending military lawyers, known as JAGs, to serve as temporary immigration judges for 6-month rotations. What's wrong with that?
I'm a former Army judge advocate, so I have a lot of affinity and respect for those judge advocates. This is not a temporary detail. Immigration law is extremely complex. It's only rivaled by the tax code in complexity. It takes a year or two to really get up to speed and to understand the law and how to make good, fair decisions. But we're pulling these people out of private practice for 6-month details and truncating the training. And there's clearly been messages out there of read the room. If you're not going to make appropriate decisions, you won't be here for long.
The Department of Justice declined our request for an interview, but almost a year ago, the president succinctly summed up his approach aboard Air Force One.
We need judges that are not going to be demanding trials for every single illegal immigrant. We have millions of people that have come in here illegally, and we can't have a trial for every single person. That would be millions of trials.
So we've got 3.5 million cases. How many immigration courts?
Over 60, and we had, at the start of the administration, we had around 600 immigration judges, and there are about 125 fewer judges now.
We're talking about 3.5 million cases. I can't even do the math that quickly.
It's a difficult problem. And
It's a lifetime problem. I guess the point I'm trying to make is the administration's case is not an unreasonable case. We have this overwhelming number of illegal immigrants in the country. We've got to start shipping people out of here in big numbers. Do you see any legitimacy to that argument?
The issue is that we also have a statute. Congress has set laws, and it has established what removal proceedings are. It has established what a right to asylum is. And an administration can't procedurally get around that rule of law.
Oh, yes, they can.
They're trying.
Oh, yes, they are. I mean, the fact of the matter is that they are ignoring the law.
Right.
You're seeing chaos in the streets. I think you're seeing chaos in the courts.
Jeremiah Johnson continues to serve as Executive Vice President of the National Association of Immigration Judges.
You shouldn't have police or ICE agents arresting people who are coming into court, tasers being outside the courtroom.
What's the consequence?
Well, if they're there to send a chilling effect to the people coming to court, then that person is prevented from having their day in court. If they're arrested before they even get to the courtroom, then they have to defend their case miles away in a detention facility, perhaps away from their family, resources, lawyers.
There are about 60,000 such people currently being held in U.S. detention. More than 70% of them have no criminal record. According to a count by the Associated Press, 30,000 immigrants have filed what's known as a habeas petition, claiming illegal detention because they haven't been granted a bond hearing.
These are basic due process issues. American citizens are taken into custody. They're flown across the country and held without bond. That's extremely concerning. Even if you are wanting to deport more people, that's fine, but we should follow the laws that are in place. And if we don't like the laws, Congress should change them.
When you talk about American citizens being flown to detention centers in some other part of the country, how often is that happening?
The real answer is I don't think we know on some of these cases. There's such strong incentives to self-deport and to give up and to sign papers without talking to counsel or even talking to a judge. And I think we're going to learn years from now about some really egregious examples where we didn't do what we're supposed to be doing.
A year ago, 31% of those seeking asylum in this country were successful. According to data for this past February, that number hit an all-time low of 5%. The legal pathway for asylum seekers to the United States is approaching zero.
I'm very concerned that we're doing a lot of things right now without any changes to the law. We're doing it by executive order and executive power alone. Whether it's firing of immigration judges or deportation orders, that's not the way a democracy is supposed to be run.